He came out of the mud, born in a neighborhood where dreams got crushed quicker than they formed. While other kids played ball, he was learning how to survive, dodging cops, caseworkers, and court dates before he even hit high school. Juvenile programs became his second home, and county jail wasn't far behind. But struggle does something to a man. It either breaks you or it builds a monster, and for him, it built a hustler with nothing left to lose. What started as small scams, flipping gift cards, running little online plays, turned into something darker once he discovered the black market on the dark web. Behind the screen, he found power, he found success, found an underground world where the rules were different. Before long, he wasn't just scamming, he was manufacturing his own destiny, his own credit cards. With printers running, numbers generating, he created a life that looked legit from the outside, but was stitched together with straight fraud. This is the story of how a lower class kid clawed his way to the top of the digital underworld, only to lose it all in one single fatal misstep. This is DOC TV Unleashed, and this is the story of John Boziak. What's up, everybody? I'm Blessed and Free. Welcome back to another episode of DOC TV Unleashed. So the gentleman I have on today, we've known each other for quite a while, and I've always wanted to get him on the channel and do an interview. It just never actually panned out. But today, I got a great guest for you. This guy did over $4 million in credit card fraud back before the black market really even existed. And he's going to get into his story and how all that went down today. If you're new and you're tuning in, before we get started, do me a solid, hit that subscribe button, turn your post notifications on, so every time I do drop content like this, you can hear it first. For the people that don't know who you are, bro, if you could just introduce yourself, tell them your name, where you're from, and then we can go ahead and jump right into your story.
My name is John Boziak, and I'm from Miami, Florida. And between 2005 and 2009, I manufactured and distributed roughly $4 million in fraudulent credit cards via the internet. Now, this was before the dark web. This was before the Silk Road. This was before all of that.
So, man, for the people, just to get a little idea who John is, how did you grow up? What was your family life like? And then what brought you into doing this crime with these cards and how all that started?
So I grew up in Miami. I didn't have your typical childhood. Pick your cliche, single parent household. My mother worked too much. I was unsupervised. I didn't have any positive male role models in my life. So I just became unmanageable at a very young age, pretty much.
I can relate.
You know what I mean? I was always into some shit.
Yeah.
It started with stealing bikes and breaking into cars, and then shoplifting, just you name it. And I was just a little shithead, pretty much. It got to the point to where my mother, she couldn't control me. The grounding didn't work. The spankings didn't work. And at about 13, I started getting incarcerated in Miami. I started going to pretty much every boys' home, every group home, every boot camp, every program that existed in South Florida at that time in the early 90s, mid 90s. I was in it. And then it got to the point to where my mother just kind of threw her hands up, and while I was incarcerated, she moved back to Michigan, where my entire family's from. In 1992, she moved me and my little brother down to Homestead, Florida. And then 1996, 1997, right when I was getting in trouble and all that shit, she just was like, I got to go back to Michigan. So when I got released from the boot camp or whatever that I was in, instead of going back to Michigan to live with my mother, I just transitioned into the foster care system in Florida.
You didn't want to go back to live with your mom, or was that not an option?
I didn't want to live in Michigan. No. And I was given the option to stay in Florida. Okay. To stay where my friends were, where I was in school. I didn't want to go to Michigan. I fucking hate Michigan.
Yeah, it's pretty cold up there too.
Oh, dude, it's a major. Dude, the whole Midwest is a major bummer, dude. Dude, I can't stand it.
I've heard you talk about how you couldn't stand it. I remember, when you were thinking about moving in with Matt and doing all that back in the day, and you were like, I can't
Yeah.
stand it up here. This place is crazy.
Dude, I went from California to where was I? Arizona and then I got swindled into going out to Indiana, but we can get to all that.
Okay. I do want to ask you though, you said you were in group homes, programs, boot camps, and the
Yep.
same with me. Um,
All of them.
tho- those places are not an easy place to go through, especially as a young kid. What kind of stuff did you experience in those places?
Oh, are you kidding me? Oh, listen, listen, I'm 40 years old and I'm 5'7", 145 pounds right now. So even back then I was even smaller. Like I didn't even start growing or getting any weight on me until I was in my 20s, almost my 30s. So I got bullied just fucking relentlessly. I got picked on. I got tormented. They put shit in my food. They put stuff on my. They put like Neil or what's that muscle rub on my deodorant. I'd be in the shower and they'd come snatch the shower curtain down. Like I would have to fight. It wasn't a fun time. You know what I
No,
mean?
I
Like
know.
a lot of kids go in there and like if you're already like kind of like a hardcore kid, you know, like if you come from like Section 8 housing and your mother was on crack and you know, so you got beat up and all like so they were already these kids were already coming in as monsters.
Right.
I wasn't like that. Like I was actually raised with a little bit of empathy. I didn't come from like a broken home. It was just I was just like kind of a victim of unfortunate circumstances where I allowed the kids in the neighborhood to kind of influence my behavior. I didn't like my mother was an alcoholic. You know, there was food in the house. Like we weren't rich, but we weren't poor either. Like the lights weren't getting turned out. I wasn't living with roaches. And a lot of these kids that were in these programs, that's just the background they came from.
Yeah.
So these kids were already coming in as monsters. And, you know, unfortunately, that's pretty much what I had to deal with. From the age of 13 all the way until I was 19 years old. I was a ward of the state until I was 19 years old when they finally released me. Yeah.
Damn, yeah. No, I know. Yeah, when you're white, especially, even being white going
Oh
into these
yeah.
programs is just it's a rough time.
You got a mark on you. You got a bullseye on your back as soon as you walk in the door. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. After these programs and you were done with doing all that and you got out, what was the next steps in your life at that point?
I had to learn how to become like a normal human being. And you know, because you know, going from a youth to a teenager, dude, those are confusing times for anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're going through puberty, you're figuring out, you're discovering girls, like your hormones are all fucked up, and like I didn't have like a steady like I didn't have a security no security blanket. I didn't have a safety net. I was just bouncing from like uh, foster care home to foster care home, and then it basically became I just decided to live on the street because like I got kicked out of one of my foster care homes and they didn't report it to the state. They were like, just go ahead, dude. Like you want to go, pretty much. And I was only like 15 or 16. So I went and lived on the streets of Miami. I slept on buildings. I slept all over the place. Like I had little spots all over the city I used to sleep at. I used to stay at people's houses, you know, and I was just on the street. So I had to learn how to feed myself. Obviously, I didn't want to look like a bum. You know, I always like to be fresh, have like, you know, at least a fresh tee and some sneaks on. So I had to learn how to hustle. I had to learn how to get money. I had to learn how to be resourceful where I didn't have any skills. I was never taught like the proper way to do anything. I kind of learned it from being in kind of just a bad situation. And so, but I did go to school because that's where you hustle at. That's where all the money's at. That's where all the opportunities at. When you're a teenager in Miami, you go to school. So I went to school. I graduated high school, and then while I was homeless, and then I actually enrolled in this program called the Covenant House, which is like it's like a shelter for homeless teenagers, and it's in Fort Lauderdale. It's just north of Miami. And I went there and I walked in the door and I was just like, listen, I'm homeless. I don't have nowhere to go. And they let me sleep there. They fed me meals. And I went to the Art Institute of Fort Lauderdale. I got my associate's degree and I tried to kind of start to build some kind of life for myself. But I was still struggling. I was still partying. I was popping Xanax. I was doing cocaine. I was smoking weed every day.
My
I was
man.
drinking all the time. You know what I mean? Like I was just partying. I was partying. You know what I mean? I was just partying. I didn't understand that you can't do these things because everybody around me was doing these things. So I figured, fuck it, you know. I'm still partying. Like, so I wasn't being like responsible. even though I graduated high school and I was going to college, I wasn't being responsible at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's, bro, props to you because through the like what you went through with the family thing and then these programs and to still get your high school diploma, to still go to college, like I mean, that says a lot
Yeah.
about your like character and your drive to want to at least try to do better in life. So I give you props for that. A lot of people don't.
Yeah, I think I'm just a little bit lucky that I've always been kind of just a little bit smarter than the average bear,
Right.
if you will. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I was always felt like I was surrounded by dummies, pretty much. And schoolwork was never challenging. It was super easy. Like I was in
Yeah.
Miami public schools. It was super easy. All my tests, I was the first one done, and I'd be sitting, you know what I mean, waiting for everybody else to finish.
Yeah.
So like it was never that hard. Like so, I never felt like I was being like challenged at all. I think that's why I kind of breezed through high school and college for that matter.
All right, man. So you went to the Art Institute and then what happened after that?
I was still homeless.
Okay.
I was hustling. I got a car and I was sleeping in my car in the parking garage at the college while I was going to school, so that as soon as classes started in the morning, I used to just be on campus all day just to have something to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would go to classes that I wasn't even enrolled in just to be out of the heat because it's South Florida, bro. It's hot.
Yeah.
Like we're Florida crackers. We're Florida crackers. Like
No.
motherfuckers, they don't understand. It's 100 degrees plus 100% humidity. Like you're just not outside between noon and 5 o'clock. You don't want to be outside. So I used to just find things to do inside. I graduated and I got my associate's degree. And right when you graduate at the Art Institute, they have like a job fair at the very end for the graduating class. And you go there, and there's a bunch of companies. They come, they set up little booths, and you go from booth to booth, and you kind of just show them your portfolio. Like, this is what I've been working on over the past few years. This is what I'm proficient at. This is where I excel at. This is what I can do. And I got hired by one of the companies straight out of college. They hired me. It was a print shop in Miami, and they did screen printing, they did flyers, they did auto wraps, like custom like auto wraps for cars. You name it, they did it. We did T-shirts, we did banners, we did everything. I slowly worked my way up over like the course of about 10 or 11 months. I started there. I started working under some dude they had up there from South America. So like the owners of the company were from South America. And there was some guy there. He was from South America, but his visa was ending soon. So he basically trained me, and then he went back to his country. And I was pretty much like the lead graphic design artist for the whole company. It was just me. And then I got to hire two people. And so I knew some people from that I went to school with. So I hired them on. I had two people working underneath me. And like I said, this went on for about a year. I worked there and I got hired. Let me tell you, my salary straight out of college was $80K a year.
Damn.
$80,000 a year they were paying me. They were paying me salary too. It wasn't like hourly, it was salary.
And this was back too, like years and years ago. So that was probably,
this is
what,
yeah.
120,000 now, you would say?
Adjusted for inflation, yeah. Oh yeah. It was good money.
Yeah.
I had an apartment in Brickell in downtown Miami. I had a brand new Cadillac STS that I got that I was leasing, but it was mine.
Yeah.
And I was doing for the first time in my life, bro. I had something. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't sleeping outside anymore. I wasn't fucking eating out of trash cans. I wasn't diving in dumpsters behind fucking Domino's Pizza at the end of the night trying to find pizzas. Like I didn't have to do any of that shit anymore. So I finally fucking had something.
I can't see you doing that, bro. You don't like
Bro.
That's what's crazy about this life.
Dude, I was out there like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I used to eat at the homeless shelters. I used to go to Publix to steal rotisserie chickens. Bro, I was out. I was out there. I was out there like that. I didn't have nobody.
Hey,
like if I didn't have, yeah, bro. If I was hungry, I didn't have nobody to call to be like, yo, can I have some food? Like I didn't have anybody. Yeah, I was just out there like that. And like I said, for the first time, I was finally able to like do something for myself, bro. I had money. I was going out, and mind you, I'm still partying. You know what I mean? Like I was still fucking going out to strip clubs. I was still fucking partying, but one day, I show up for work in the morning and I pull up in the parking lot and the feds are there. The FBI, the Secret Service, like almost all of the agencies were there. I get pulled into an office. I get interrogated for like an hour and a half. Do you know this person? How long you've been working here? What's your involvement with the company? All this shit. And then the owner's wife shows up, and like I was just walking out to my car, and she pulls up, and she, because me and her were always on like a really, really good face-to-face basis. Because I worked directly with her. The dude who owned the company, her husband, he rarely ever even came in unless there was a problem. So she pulls up. I'm like, yo, what's going on? She pulls out her checkbook. She writes me a check for the remainder of my salary for the rest of the year. And mind you, this is probably like February or something like that. So she wrote me like a decent sized check. It was like, I was like 65 or $70,000. Okay. She says, go to the bank and cash this right now. She says, don't wait. She says, go straight to the bank and cash this. I said, all right. I go to the bank, I cash it. Dude, they shut down the business. It was all, they wouldn't let nobody work there anymore. They confiscated all the equipment. I didn't find out what happened until years later, actually. Like, I just kind of was like, whatever. Dude, it's Miami. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Dude, like this shit happens all the time, bro. Like people get raided. Everybody's in Miami. Everybody's on some scam shit, and it's been like that since the '80s, since the cocaine was coming in, and since like the Cuban crime wave. Miami's always been crooked. Drug money and scam money built Miami, pretty much, and it still continues to do so to this day. So, and like I said, I didn't find out till years later that they were using that business as basically just a money laundering operation. They didn't even care if it made money. They were just laundering drug money with it, pretty much. And then, like I said, that happened, and I tried to find another job, bro. I applied for other jobs, but bro, they were on like $10 an hour, $12 an hour. I'm like, I was like, dude, I'm not moving out of my condo. I'm not giving up my car. I'm not going backwards. I'm only going forward.
At this point, have you ever been arrested?
Or nothing major.
Okay, so no real record then.
No, like a couple open intoxes. Dude, I used to get wasted and wreak havoc in public, and then have to go sit in the have to go sit in the drunk tank and then wake up and bond out the next morning, go to court. But yeah, no felonies or nothing like that. No.
Okay.
Yeah, I used to while out a lot. Like Fort Lauderdale, I turned 21 in Fort Lauderdale Beach. And I don't know if you've ever been to the beach place where they got like all the bars and the restaurants and shit out there.
No, I haven't.
At Fort Lauderdale Beach, like there's like this indoor, outdoor kind of like, and it's like 4 levels, and there's bars and there's restaurants, and like it's the center of the beach. Yeah, that used to be my spot. I used to get drunk and go to jail there once or twice fucking a month. But yeah, like I said, nothing major. No, I'd never been in any really major trouble up to this point. I had to make money, and I ended up linking up with somebody who kind of put me on. They told me about the credit card stuff, because they knew about it. They weren't really doing it, but they were like, oh, I know about this thing. And that was all I needed. I just hopped on the internet and I did my own research. I found the carding forums after like 2 weeks of searching online. I started reading tutorials, and that kind of just took me down the rabbit hole of credit card fraud, online credit card fraud, all of the scams you could possibly imagine. At that time, like there wasn't like it is nowadays, but at that time, the 2 major big ones were in-store credit card and online credit card fraud.
When next did you do your first like big fraud with the credit cards and actually make like real money from doing so? And how did that go down?
It was a while. I started slow. Like I started doing online credit card fraud, and we're talking, this is like 2005. This is fucking 20 years ago. So I figured out I could buy fulls, which is like first name, last name, date of birth, social security number, and then usually it came with a credit card, which is the number that's on the front of the credit card and the 3-digit code from the back and the billing address. Okay. I could buy those for like $12 a piece. So really? I bought. Oh yeah, back in the day, each one of those blocks of information was like $12. Wow. And then the more I started doing it, I found even cheaper. I was getting them for like $6 a piece. But in the beginning, I was getting those for like $12, and then so I would buy probably like 5 or 6 of those. I learned how to do. I've always been good with computers. Obviously, I have my associate's degree in graphic design. I've been proficient with all the Adobe products since Windows 95, Windows 98. And so I knew how to use a VPN. I knew how to use a SOX proxy. I knew about like IP addresses and like, location and all that shit. And plus there were tutorials that taught you like OPSEC, operational security. So once I learned that, I would buy these numbers and I would go online and I would order like, I don't know, laptops. I would order clothes. I would order jewelry. I would order little things online and I would have them shipped to just random addresses all around Miami.
You would order something online to like an abandoned house, then go scope that out until it actually got delivered. And then you'd run up and just scoop up whatever it is you delivered.
I was doing it pretty. I was doing it pretty sloppy in the beginning, yeah. So, but then I kind of got smart and I went online and I found, those websites you can go to that you can go in, you can look at all the foreclosed properties that are in foreclosure and that are bank owned and like your radius or whatever.
Right.
So then once I had a list of all the properties that were being foreclosed on, I would just go by the property. And if nobody lived there, then I knew that I could send packages there.
Right. Okay.
And obviously when I order something online, I have a tracking number. So I know exactly when that package is going to be delivered. So I would basically go and just hang out at the property. I would sit on the porch and I would sit on the porch and I would just, and this is before cell phones. Like this is before YouTube. This is before the iPhone. This is before social media. So I should just go and like sit on the porch with like a football or a basketball. And then what I would do is I would grab some trash cans from the side of the house, or I'd even go steal the neighbor's trash cans. And right as the UPS truck or the FedEx truck was pulling up, I'd be walking down to the curb with the trash cans. I didn't even know if it was trash day in that neighborhood. I would just be walking down with the trash cans, and I knew what name the package was in. And he'd be walking up. I'd be like, "Oh, Brian Smith," and he'd be like, "Yes," and I'd be like, "Oh, okay," and I would sign for it, and then I would go sit on the porch. He'd pull off, and then I would just leave. Yeah. So yeah, it was like I would come up with these little methods to get the packages.
That's a good idea though, because then it looks like, hey, I live here. I'm just bringing my trash out.
and I say the name. I catch him off guard because I say the name that I know is on the package, and the only way I would know that is if I was ordering it. So there was no way that I was just. Yeah. So, but then eventually I started getting fake IDs, and I would go and open up UPS store boxes all over Miami, and then I would just have things shipped to the UPS store box. Pretty much that I started doing that too as well. It's like that was my initial that's how I kind of got into it at first.
Okay. At this time, were you worried at all about being caught for any of this? Like actually,
no,
invincible, right?
I was pretty brazen with it. And like I said, I'm a street kid. I've been on the street my whole life pulling scams. Dude, I used to go to Walgreens and CVS and steal these little pills called Remifene, which were like for women's menstrual cycles. But
dude, they had a dolphin on them.
They had a butterfly on them.
A butterfly. And you sold them as ecstasy.
Oh, dude, I was crazy.
Dude, I was on that too, bro. That's crazy. Dude, I've never heard anybody say that.
Early 2000s, man. Early 2000s. Some kid put me up on it in South Beach, Miami. And dude, I was bold with it. They used to go and steal one pack. Dude, I walk in there with my backpack and just take all of them.
All the cases.
Oh, dude, take all of them. And then I'd go down to the little bodega and I'd get those little dime baggies with the little, remember the little Ziploc baggies? Uh-huh. Oh, and I would sit there all day long on top of like a building, bagging them all up. And then I would go out to the clubs on South Beach and just catch drunk motherfuckers coming out of the club. And dude, I would all day long. So dude, I was a little scoundrel. So, I wasn't one of those people who kind of broke the law and then got really scared about it. You know what I mean? Because for me, I had been living at rock bottom my entire life. So going to jail for me, I wasn't afraid of it. You know what I mean? I've been incarcerated pretty much my entire life at that point.
Right.
So yeah. So no, I wasn't scared of going to jail. I wasn't scared of getting caught. And things from there kind of just only escalated. After doing the online credit card stuff, I kind of moved to doing the in-store credit card stuff where you can buy this one little piece of equipment called an MSR 206 reader writer. I don't know what the kids are using nowadays, but back then that's what I used to use. And you could what that basically allowed you to do was, so let's say anytime you go to like Walgreens, Walmart, Target, CVS, wherever, and you swipe your debit card, that information that's on your magnetic strip gets saved to a server somewhere. And what happens is these kids from like Ukraine, Russia, they hack all of this information and then they resell it on the dark web, or In this case, on the credit card forums that I was on in the early 2000s. Now, this information is a little bit different than the information I was buying before, because with this information, you had to have something to write it to. Like you had to have a blank card to encode the information to. And then you could take that blank card that you just encoded the information to into a store and swipe for physical products. And that was the next eventual step in the process of what I was doing.
At this point, how much money would you say you're frauding like per month?
Maybe $2,000, maybe $3,000 a month. It wasn't much. Like I wasn't making crazy money at this point. It was enough to pay my bills. And it was enough for me to kind of go out and party with, you know what I mean? And buy clothes and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, because, it's like, and plus I was just learning, I was just kind of learning the whole process. I didn't really know what I was doing in the beginning. I made a lot of mistakes. And so the big money didn't really come until later on.
Walk the people through when you got into the bigger crimes that eventually sent you to federal prison and how all that took place and what went down.
I got ran out of a few stores is what ended up happening. You know what I mean? Like, so the card would get declined. They would try and grab the card. I'd get into an argument with the cashier and then they'd call security. Another time, me and my little brother got ran out of a store. I had my little brother down in Florida. He came down from Michigan. He was committing fraud with me. We got chased out of a Walmart in Palm Beach one time. I got away. He got caught. So I spent the whole night like figuring out what jail he was in. I watched him go from jail to jail to jail on the internet. I got him a bond. I got him a bond the next morning. Went and got a bondsman, got him out. He took off, went back to Michigan. And dude, I just got tired, man. Like I just got tired of all the legwork and getting run out of stores and risking going to jail. So I was like, there has to be some other way to make money doing this besides what I'm doing. I don't remember if I was watching a documentary or this is just something that I heard and I picked up somewhere, but there's a saying that back in the day during like the 1800s when everybody was going out west and panning gold, it wasn't the guys that were panning in getting the gold that were actually making all the money. It was the guys that were selling the pickaxes out there made more money than the guys that were actually panning the gold.
Wow.
This is a true story. Like,
That's
you know what
crazy.
I mean? True story. Yeah. The guys out there selling the pickaxes, they made more money than the guys that were out there actually mining the gold. And then I kind of ran that through my head and I was like, why can't I just become a vendor? You know what I mean? Like the marketplace is all kinds of messed up right now. Like there's nobody really reliable. Like, so to go into a store, you could go on these forums and you could buy like counterfeit credit cards. And this is somebody who prints the credit card out, embosses it, and mails it to you, and then you go out and use them. And dude, I was paying like $20 or $30, sometimes $50 for one card, and sometimes it wouldn't even work. So you'd have to buy multiple. So I was spending $300-$400 on these counterfeit credit cards, and they weren't even that good.
Right.
Like there wasn't even nobody selling them that was any good. Like the marketplace was just like it was crap. And like not to mention the customer service, like you'd message somebody and they might get back to you 5 days later and then you pay them and then you might get your cards 3 weeks or something like that afterwards. So I just seen an opportunity and me being me, I was like, okay, let me try my hand in this. So I figured out, what printers do I need? I bought the printers. I figured out how to use the printers, and it was just trial and error. Like, there's no blueprint to this shit.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
In that day and age, there's no like Reddit, Google. Like, you can't really. That's not even on
nothing.
There. So
nothing, bro.
Okay.
There were carding forums, and on these carding forums, there were tutorials, but there were no tutorials on how to print credit cards or how to counterfeit credit cards. It just didn't exist.
Right.
So every time I came up against a problem, I had to figure out how to solve it. The SIG strips on the back. I had to figure out how to get the holograms made in China. I had to figure out. I knew graphic design, and I worked for a print company previously. So fortunately, I had a little bit of experience. And after about 2 or 3 months of experimentation, I had a viable product. I had a counterfeit credit card that was indistinguishable from those that were issued from a financial institution. You could hold them up right next to each other, and they were perfect.
Damn.
So then I went on the forums, and back in the day, it's not like how it is now. Back in the day, you used to have to get the forums, you couldn't just start selling shit on the forums. You know what I mean? Like you can go on the dark web now or like Silk Road back in the day and you could just start making posts and start selling shit.
Right.
You had to get verified. So I had to contact the admin of the forum. I had to send him plastic and he had to verify that they were good. Then he had to, allow me to become a vendor. And then to become a vendor, there was like, we even had escrow services back then. So like I didn't get paid directly. Like they had to pay the escrow service. And then I had to send out my product. And then once they, contacted escrow and was like, no, I got it, it's good, then escrow would release the money to me. So it was like this whole process back in the day. And dude, I just kind of took over. Like my customer service skills were unmatched. Like I used to sleep with my laptop open next to my bed with the volume all the way up, because obviously my cards are going all over the world. They're going to Russia, they're going to South America. I'm on the East Coast. They were going out to like Vegas. They were going to California. They were going to Colorado. They were going to New York. So it was like, if anybody ever had a problem, I would answer my chat immediately. And, if they needed more cards sent out or they had any questions or anything like that. So my customer service was unmatched and my product was unmatched. And I'd say within 6 months, I was the number one vendor of fraudulent credit cards in the entire marketplace, at least in the United States. I know there's a couple guys doing it in Russia, where that's where most of the cards are being printed out of. But as far as the U.S. was, I was the number one vendor in the U.S. for fraudulent credit cards.
Damn, bro. Like, so how many cards a month do you think that you were sending out at that point?
So minimum order with me was $1,000. Okay. I wasn't doing like, $20 here, $40 there. It was $1,000. And for $1,000, you got 100 debit cards. And I would work with you on the IDs because I was also making driver's licenses at this time too. And I was selling those for like $300 each if I sold them by themselves. But if you bought the package, if you got like the $1,000 package with the 100 debit cards, I wouldn't give you 100 IDs, but I'd work with you. I'd give you IDs as well.
Right.
And so at the very pinnacle of what I deemed to be my success, I was probably doing over 100 orders a month. So like $100,000 every month in sales.
Now, when these people get these cards and they can go use them at any store, right? Like you swipe them. Okay. Yep. What was the limit that were on these cards as far as like the money goes? Like 20,000?
Right. So that wasn't my department. I would just make the physical card themselves. Okay, and then I was actually working with somebody that was selling the dumps. That's what it's called. It's called dump information. They were selling the dumps. And how the dumps work, how the dumps game works, I'll give a brief breakdown, is there's something called a BIN number, a BIN number. It's a bank identification number. So the first 6 digits of any debit or credit card dictate which financial institution issues that card. It also dictates whether it not dictates, but it'll also tell you whether that card is a gold card, a debit card, a credit card, a platinum card, or whatever. So just by the BIN number, you could kind of guess what the limit was on the card. Like, so if it was just like a gold or like a regular debit card, usually the balances were, a little bit lower because it was just somebody's regular checking account. Right. But if it was like, say like a platinum or like an Amex fucking gold or whatever, or an Amex silver, then you knew, okay, you could look it up and you could be like, the limits on these cards are usually between 7,000 and 20,000, depending on how much of the credit the person has used or whatever. But you never really knew. Like there was no definitive way to know what the balance was on any of these cards. But if you were good at understanding how the bins worked, and you could pick the proper bins from the vendor, then you could kind of guesstimate what the limits were and where you could shop and where you could use them at.
I gotcha. Okay. So at this point, did you ever suspect up until this point that you were being looked at by the feds, or there was any heat being brought on you in any type of way?
It was always in the back of my mind, but I was a ghost practically online. Like there was no way they were going to trace me. They weren't going to find me by my IP address. You know what I mean? Like they weren't.
You're using a VPN. I'm taking it to hide the IP.
Oh, listen, I never went online at my address at my home, where my home IP address was. I'd always go somewhere and use a public Wi-Fi, but I was never like on camera. So it was never at like a Starbucks or like a Panera Bread or anything like that. I usually used a Wi-Fi antenna, and I would steal somebody's Wi-Fi address. Like, so I would go somewhere and just park in my car. I'd use a Wi-Fi antenna, And then I had a program, and I could boot a laptop into Linux, and I had a program for Linux that could snip out passwords for Wi-Fi addresses. And we're talking '05. So like people like they didn't have like they didn't have the security on the home networks that they do now. So back then, like the passwords were easy to get with the program I was using. So and on top of that, I was using a VPN and I was using SOX proxy. So there was just no way they were going to find my digital footprint. And then when I was mailing my packages out, not only that, but when I made the cards, I would use gloves. I'd wear like I would go to like I'd wear rubber gloves. Yeah. So I never left my fingerprints on any of the cards. And when I would mail them out, I would go to different UPS stores all over the city. I mean, there's hundreds of them in Miami. Yeah. And I would pay for the packaging or the shipping before I went. So they'd be in the box would be sealed and there'd be a label on it. And all you do is you walk in and be like, can you put this on your outgoing mail? And they'd be like, oh, it's a $5 fee or whatever. You pay the $5, you drop it in the basket and it goes out. It's as simple as that. Or if it was US, I would just go drop them in those blue mailboxes.
Yeah, I was going to just ask you. Yeah.
Oh, dude, a lot of times it was, but if they had to go international or whatever, I would have to send them UPS. Right. But a lot of times they were on those little blue mailboxes around every corner. Yeah. So I would just go drop them in the mailbox or whatever, and it would be off and running. So I knew that there was no way they were ever going to catch me. Even if the Secret Service got on there, spoke to me on chat, and then ordered cards from me directly, there was no way they were ever going to catch me. So I was pretty confident in that respect. Yeah.
Okay. When was it that you knew the feds were on you?
So I'll tell you how it all went down.
Okay.
I ended up moving to South Carolina because I met this girl in Miami, and like my first baby mama I ever had, I got her pregnant. We weren't married, but she got pregnant. We had a kid, and she was from South Carolina, and she wanted to go up to South Carolina and meet her family, or be with her family. And her family had never really been around my son. So I was like, whatever. I can do this from anywhere I got. I could print cards from anywhere.
Right.
So dude, biggest mistake I ever made. We went to South Carolina, and I got stuck in this little town in South Carolina called Rock Hill, where there was 2 UPS stores. And so I had to go to the same 2 UPS stores to mail out all my packages. And that's where I fucked up. Like, that's where I became complacent. At this point, I had been doing it for almost 4 years, like just balling for 4 years. Like, listen, I never looked at the price of anything. I would fill up my gas tank. Like the price of gas never like occurred to me. Like, I had all the nicest shit in my condo. Like I went to Art Van Furniture and I got like all the nice Italian leather fucking sofas. I went to, you know what I mean? I went to Best Buy and I got the biggest TV they had there.
Sounds like what I would have done.
Dude, I had all the gaming systems. Like, dude, I would take trips. I'd go out to Vegas for, it was crazy. Like I did whatever. I lived basically like a millionaire. I mean, and I mean, see, here's the thing. I was kind of smart with it as well. Like I wasn't buying like Lamborghinis and like Ferraris and like Porsches. Like I drove a new Cadillac, which it was new, but it wasn't like, I didn't put like big wheels on it or whatever. Like I wasn't wearing like $1 million in jewelry. I wasn't doing any of that dumb shit because I knew like I wasn't going to be that guy that was pulling up to the apartment complex in a $250,000 car wearing $1 million in jewelry. I just wasn't going to be that guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wasn't going to go and buy a fucking $500,000 home when I haven't filed taxes ever in my entire life. Like you just don't do dumb shit like that. And I knew not to do those things.
Right.
So, I mean, I had a nice condo, but it wasn't mine. I was renting. And like I said, I had all the amenities. I had all the nice shit, and I used to take vacations, and I drove a nice car. But I think at the very height of what I was doing, I was liquid somewhere in the neighborhood of $3.8 to $4 million. Like I didn't know what to do with the money. And I didn't grow up with money. Obviously, I come from being homeless on the street. I didn't grow up with money. So, dude, I didn't understand investing. I didn't know what ROI was. I didn't know starting a small business. I didn't know about like index funds and the S&P 500 and blue chips. I'm completely ignorant to all. Now I know, obviously, but I was completely ignorant to all of that. I had no fucking clue about any of that. So the money just sat pretty much, I didn't do anything with it. So one day I walk into this UPS store in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and I had a package. Actually, I got an email that morning saying I had a package waiting for me, which coincidentally I did. So I walk in and I sign for my package, and I go to walk out the door, and there were 2 Secret Service agents walking in, and they stopped me from going out. They blocked the door, and they were like, Ryan Pearson, because that was the name I was using at the time. And I said, yeah. And they're like, well, we need to speak to you about what you've been sending out of here. And dude, for a few minutes, I tried to play stupid. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about, this, that, and the other. And they're like, listen, we got your package. We know what you've been sending out of here. And then they're like, oh, listen, just come in the back and talk to us. So we went in the back of the UPS store, and dude, I sat down in the chair, and I was like, fuck, man. I was like, they don't know anything. In my mind, because they kept asking me these stupid questions, and I'm like, so I knew that like they don't know. Obviously, first of all, they don't know who I am. They don't know the extent of what I've been doing or how long I've been doing it. So I'm just going to tell them what they want to hear, and I'm going to try and minimize as much as I can to try and get myself out of this situation. So they were like, listen, if you play ball with us and you're not going to jail today. I'm like, I'm not going to jail. They're like, listen, no, just listen, tell us what we want to hear. Be truthful with us. But he's like, you're going to have to go to court, obviously. He's like, you're going to have a court date, but we're not going to take you to jail today. So then I was like, in my mind, I was like, shit, if I can get away from
really
these
don't have anything.
That right there told me that they have no idea who I was or what I was doing, how long I had been doing it, anything. And in my mind, I was like, shit, if I can get away from these motherfuckers right now, I'm gone. Like, they'll never see me again. Like, I'm taking off. So I was like, okay, what do you want to know? They're like, well, what's your real name? And I told them my real name. They had BlackBerries. This is so long ago. They had BlackBerries. And they looked me up, and they got my picture from the DMV, and they verified who I was. And they're like, well, all right, well, how, I told them, like, listen, I've only been doing this for a few months. There's nobody, I'm not a part of like some big crime syndicate, because I think they thought that I was part of like I was just small cog in like a bigger wheel of crime. No, they thought they were going to take down some, giant operation where it was just me. Right. Like, dude, listen, I had no co-defendants. I didn't run my mouth and tell anybody what I was doing. Like, nobody besides my baby mama knew what I was doing at all. Like, nobody I hung out with, nobody knew where my money came from or nothing.
Smart.
So, I watched too many people go to jail. I was like I said, I've always been a little bit smarter than the average bear. So I had no co-defendants. I had nobody to work against me or nothing. I'm like, listen, I've only been doing this for a few months. I learned how to do it on the carding forums. I'm on this carding forum. I'm on this carding forum. And I got a spare bedroom in my apartment that I've been kind of like just making credit cards out of. Well, they were like, all right, well, they made me sign a bunch of paperwork. They fingerprinted me and took a picture of me inside the back of the UPS store. They put me in their car, drove me to my condo, and I had to sign a search and seizure agreement. And they came in and they basically took everything. They took all my printers, my hard drives, my laptops, anything with removable storage. They took it all. And they gave me a card with this number on it. And they're like, well, listen, we're going to be in contact, and you're going to have to come down to the Secret Service headquarters here in Columbia, South Carolina, and you're going to be interviewed, and then you're going to have a court date. So I was like, all right. And so after they left, I had like a week to either think about running or going and giving a statement, pretty much. And so a week later, I went down to the Secret Service headquarters in Columbia, South Carolina. I walk into this room, and there were probably 15 people sitting at this long fucking table. Listen, they had flown people in from all over the US. They flew people in from DC, from Vegas, from California, from all over, all the heads of like the fraud departments all over the US for the Secret Service at that time that were working in the financial crimes division. They were all there. They were all in the room.
What did you think when you walked into that room, man, and saw all that?
I was cooked. I thought
I was going to say, cooked. My stomach would be like,
not only that, but they had screenshots in the middle of the whole middle of the table was covered in screenshots of all of my online activity. Every time I had posted in a forum, they went online, and they every time I had made a post, anytime I had posted a picture, the whole table was covered in screenshots. So by that time, they knew that first of all, I was lying, and that I had been doing this for quite a while. And they just grilled me, dude, for like 3.5 hours. Who do you sell to? How long you've been doing it? What are your methods? They made me show. They brought in all my equipment and made me show them exactly how to make a credit card in the room. Like they made me show all of the Secret Service agents exactly how I made the credit cards, like all the way down from the designing on the computer to the printing to the hologram. Damn. To the encoding, everything. But they made, because they had no idea at this point. Because right. You got to admit, this is 20 years ago, bro. Like they didn't like now. Obviously, there's training seminars and shit, but They didn't know. Like, they had no idea how these cards were being made, and they didn't know how I got these cards almost exactly like the financial institutions. So I had to do that whole rigmarole thing. And dude, honestly, it was touch and go for a little while there. Like, I didn't know if I was leaving that room in handcuffs or I was leaving on my own free will. Like, I had no idea. I had no idea. And yeah, they at the end, they were like, okay, well, we're going to be in contact, and we'll be monitoring all of the carding forums. It's like, so we'll know if you get back online, and if you do, we're going to come and arrest you. He's like, so you're going to have a court date, and we'll be in touch. And I left.
And this was, so they had all your information, and then they were, I guess, letting you leave because they were in the process of still maybe building the whole case against you for evidence purposes.
They didn't even know what they could charge me with that at that, because like this case set precedents in the U.S. justice system, because up to this point nobody had ever been charged with they had never had anybody doing what I was doing. So they couldn't charge me at first because they didn't even know what the charges were. So they had to get with prosecutors, and they had to go through fucking law books, and they had to figure out, like, what can we hit them with? What charges? So like, they had to do all of that before they could even schedule me a court date. So that's pretty much why they had to let me go. Yeah.
So what happens next, man? You walk out of there, and then what's the next steps that took place?
Nothing happened for 3 years.
You didn't do any fraud?
Oh, of course I did, but
okay, well, that's what I meant.
But no. So for 3 years, nothing happened. But after a year, the little bit of money that they didn't get from me, because so when they took when they confiscated everything, dude, they got all the debit cards. Because listen, even though I had almost $4 million, I've never seen more than $80,000 in cash ever my entire life.
Right.
So like, I didn't have all that money in cash. Like, I didn't have like piles of fucking cash sitting around. Dude, I had bank accounts set up in other people's names. I had, Bitcoin accounts. I had all kinds of accounts, and they were all on debit cards and all on hard drives. And when they came and took all of that, stupid me, I didn't have anything backed up. Like, I should have had a storage unit backed up, but I never thought I'd get caught.
Yeah.
I didn't think to. I was just dumb.
You're young too, still at this point.
Yes,
and you're not
in my
really,
mid-20s.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm
like 25. Yeah.
We're not thinking like straight.
Yeah, I'm like 25 years old. I'm not dollar smart. I don't know about redundancies and all that shit. So they cleaned me out pretty much, and I had a little bit of cash set aside in my girlfriend's bank account, or my baby mother's bank account. I had a nice chunk of change put in there. So that's what we were living off of. And after about a year, I didn't hear anything. And through all of this, she left me because she thought she was going to get in trouble and they were going to take my son away. So she wanted to put as much distance between me and her as she possibly could when all of this kind of went down.
Were you worried about her like working with them against you at that point because of her leaving?
I knew that she wouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, at least I hoped that she would.
Yeah.
But there was really no reason for them to try and get her to work against me because they had everything.
Right.
They weren't trying to build a case on me. They already had the case to prosecute.
Right. That makes sense.
And I didn't have any co-defendants. I had nobody that I was working with or anything. So I really wasn't really too much worried about that. But she left me. So I ended up leaving South Carolina. I went back down to Miami, and I just partied for about a year because I'm like, dude, I'm going to prison. At this point, I'm like, I'm cooked. I'm going to prison.
Yeah.
So after about a year, and I still don't have a court date, I'm calling, I'm checking in with these guys. Like, I don't have to, but every once in a while I'll call and they're like, no, we don't have anything yet. Just, check back with us in a month or whatever. I'm like, okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, dude. So after about a year, I ran out of money, and I'm back to sleeping on people's couches in Miami. I got a little bit of clothes left. I got my car. I still had my car that I paid for, that I owned. But dude, I was getting down to like my last like $5,000 or $10,000. And so, dude, I geared up and went for another run. You know what I mean?
Man.
Like, I just bought some more. I bought some more printers, bought some more of this, bought some more of that. I made a new screen name. I went back onto the forums. I contacted all the administrators. Like, listen, I kind of had the heat came down on me, so I had to take a couple months break. But I'm back now, and I'm ready to start working again. And yeah, probably over the next year, I made close to like another $1 million, like another $800,000 or $750,000, $800,000 or something like that over the next year. And at this time, I had met another girl in Miami. I was with her, and yeah, we were living together. And one day we just get pulled over for no reason, pretty much. And the cop came and he took my driver's license, and I was bullshitting with her in the car. I'm like, listen, I was like, when the second cop car pulls up, that's how you know you're fucked.
Yeah, facts.
Dude, just talking shit, dude.
But that's sure true enough, though.
Oh, dude, yeah. So about 10 minutes goes by, and I'm like, this is taking a little bit long to run my license. I was like, dude, I don't have any warrants or anything. And then the second cop car pulled up, and then a third cop car pulled up, and then a fourth cop car pulled up. I'm like, holy fucking shit, I am fucked. And then when the cop got out of his car and he started walking back to my car and he didn't have my driver's license in his hand, I knew I was cooked.
Yeah.
Like I was like, yeah, I'm cooked.
Yeah.
So I looked at her and I was like, listen, you got to go back to the house. You got to get everything out of the house. I was like, dude, just get rid of everything. Get rid of all the printers. Get rid of everything. So she went back to the house and she got rid of everything. I ended up going to jail. I was in Tampa at this time. I ended up going to Falkenberg Road.
I've been there.
It was like horrible. Well, it's not that bad. Actually, it's not that bad. So it was like on a Friday, and so I couldn't even go see the judge until Monday. Monday, I finally go and see a judge. I go for arraignment, and they were like, I just go up and he's like, listen, you have a fugitive felony warrant, a federal fugitive felony warrant out of the Middle District of South Carolina. He's like, so there's nothing. I can't give you a bond. I can't do anything. And that's when it hit me. I was like, oh shit, okay, now I know what it's for. It had been so long that I wasn't even thinking about that case. Yeah. I thought that the feds were on me for the new shit.
Right.
Like I was paranoid because I had started doing it again. So I thought the feds were on me for that. And so another day or two go by, and if you know anything about the system kind of in Central Florida, they don't hold all the federal inmates at Falkenberg Road. You got to go out to St. Petersburg, and what's that county out there? Pinellas County,
49th Street.
Yeah, so the U.S. Marshals had to come get me and take me out to Pinellas, book me into Pinellas before I could even go and see a federal judge. Finally, I get up in front of a judge and I'm like, listen, I'm married. I got a kid here, and I own a local business. I'm, this, that, and the other. So, because on paper, up until this point, because I hadn't been charged in South Carolina yet, I have a clean record. I have no felonies. I a couple of misdemeanors, but from my like 18, 19. So the judge gave me a PR bond and like a pretrial release. So I had to go down. I do the phone thing every day, call the number every day, and if your code comes up, you got to go do a UA or whatever. So they just released me on my personal bond, and I get home, and my wife got rid of everything, but she threw it in the garbage can. She threw it in the dumpster. And so at that point, I was just out of money. I was out of luck. And I had to travel back and forth between Tampa and South Carolina, going to court like 4 or 5 different times. I had to get a normal job, which I hadn't had in you know what I mean? Since like 05, like I hadn't even had like a normal job, like a regular 9 to 5. Dude, I had to go get a 9 to 5 at a warehouse. So I'm driving a forklift at a warehouse. Dude, I don't know how much time I'm going to get to. So life was just kind of shitty at this point.
Yeah, depressing.
Dude, yeah, it was major bummer, dude. So, dude, I finally get in front of the judge, and I went on the run actually because I'm smoking weed every day. So, and I forget to call in one day, and they call my code, and I had to go, and dude, he was like, you got to report. So I just didn't report, and I just moved to the other side of Tampa. I moved from Temple Terrace over to right behind the Tampa Mall, over off of
University Mall. Oh, Fowler?
Yeah. No. I was off of Fletcher and like 20th, 22nd, whatever that road.
City.
Yeah, exactly. That little back road that goes from behind the mall to right by the McDonald's. I lived over there in those apartments that aren't even there anymore. It's just a field. They were so bad they tore them down.
Yeah, that's like the hood over there.
Dude, it was so bad, bro. It was so bad. But dude, so we moved over there, dude, straight ghetto, dude. So I'm living there.
It is.
Eventually, the U.S. Marshals found out where I was. They came, they kicked the door in. Dude, I went to Pinellas County. They had to extradite me all the way down to South Carolina, which took like 3 months. They dropped me off in Georgia at this little shithole county jail in Georgia where I almost died because the conditions were so bad there. I think it was called I don't even remember the name.
Not Fulton County.
No. This was like a little county jail where they had a contract with the feds where they held like on stopovers.
Layover. Like a layover.
But I was there for 60 days they just fucked me over. Dude, I almost died there, dude. Like, so I couldn't get commissary because I wasn't allowed to get money on my books because I was just on layover. And dude, they barely fed you anything. And like, dude, people were in there shooting up Suboxone. It was just bad. It was just bad news. Like the whole thing was just fucked up.
Damn.
And dude, yeah, it was. So I finally get in front of the judge, dude. I'm all emaciated. I fucking dropped a bunch of weight, dude. I'm looking sick. Finally get in front of the judge in South Carolina. And dude, I got a really good public defender down there in South Carolina. Dude, I finally got lucky in this whole situation. I got a really good public defender. And long story short, she ended up figuring out, we looked at my discovery. We got my discovery and we were going through my discovery and we were figuring out exactly how the Secret Service found me. The old man at the UPS store opened one of my packages and found the cards that I was sending out. He called the Postmaster General. The Postmaster General contacted the Secret Service, and that's how they busted me.
Isn't that illegal, though, for UPS to
Yes,
open?
it is.
So that's
Absolutely.
the legal season search, right?
So dig this. The Postmaster General is the only one with the authority to open packages that have already been paid, where the postage has already been paid for and it's sealed. Well, the old man thought I was sending out drugs, apparently, because I pull up in a new car. My packages are going all over the world. I'm coming in there 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. He thought I was like sending out pills or drugs or something. Yeah. So the old man took it upon himself to open up the box. Well, that worked out in my favor because my initial charges were aggravated identity theft because I did have my picture on someone else's driver's license. So it was aggravated identity theft, possession of a fraudulent transaction device, manufacturing of a fraudulent transaction device, mail fraud, wire fraud, and something had to do with interstate commerce. I don't remember what the exact charge was, but it was something about interstate commerce because my packages were traveling. They had to get rid of everything except for the aggravated identity theft, which carried a 24-month mandatory minimum. No, go ahead.
Putting your face on someone else's ID is carries 24 months in the feds.
Mandatory. If the feds pick it up. If you get charged federally with aggravated identity theft, then it's a 24-month mandatory minimum. Yeah. So
man, the feds are corrupt.
But listen, by that time, I was already down like 13 months or something like that. By the time I got sentenced, dude, I was already down like 6 or 9. Well, no, it took me 6 months just to get from Pinellas County to South Carolina. Because it was like right towards the end of the year. So, everything stops December, January, like New Year's, Christmas. Dude, the marshals just stopped moving people around until like February. So I didn't even get down there and and then once you get there, I don't get a sentencing date for like 3 months. You know what I mean, dude?
No, I hate
that. I was in South Carolina on 24-1, bro, like 23-1, 23 hours in, 1 day, one hour out of the cell for months and months and months and months. So by the time I finally got to Coleman Low, dude, it was like being free.
Dude, because you get to walk around.
I'm drinking Cokes. I'm fucking walking around the yard exercising. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm in the barbershop getting a haircut. I'm on the phone. I'm watching TV. Like, it was a joke.
That's what I tell people. That's why so many people plea out, man, in county jail because they want to go to prison to have sunlight, freedom, be able to buy stuff.
Dude, they really county jail is the hardest time you'll ever do, bro. Dude, it's like being in maximum security prison, bro. Like, they don't even give you razors, bro. Like, you don't even go outside. Like, dude, it's just a shithole.
Yeah, it's almost set up like that, I think, to get people to plea out is what I think is why they do.
Yeah, of course they have. It's all part of the mind games they play. But no, they gave me 24 months.
So you're walking into federal prison for the first time. This is your actual first time going to an actual prison. What was that experience like walking and getting off the bus and getting into that prison?
I'm going to tell you something. I went through Oklahoma and Oklahoma City. That's when it really hit me because that's like real, like when you're walking down this hallway and there's 100 guys and it's like, dude, that's when the reality really hits you. Like Coleman is more of like a kind of like a daycare center for, you know what I mean? Like, it's not even like, it's not scary.
Like violent shit.
Dude, it's not scary. There's no doors on the cells. There's no people, nobody's yelling at you or nothing like that. Like, so, and like, you're in there with like chomos and rats.
Yeah.
Pretty
that's
much.
What I've heard. Yeah.
I mean, dude, it's all rats and chomos. So yeah, it wasn't scary at all. Going through Oklahoma, going on Con Air and then going through Oklahoma, dude, that's that's when reality really smacks you in the face. Yeah.
And we'll get into that in part 2. We're running out of time today. Sorry about that, you guys. But hey, I know that you have social media. You have a YouTube channel. This guy puts out great content. He's got a great message. You guys need to go check it out. For the people that want to go subscribe to you or follow you, how can they find you on social media, man?
Right. So my Instagram is Slum by Nature. I have 2 YouTube channels. One is just John Boziak, my name, and the other is called Dark Net, which is a newer channel. And if you search for it on YouTube, you have to put in at the real Darknet, the at symbol, and then the real Darknet. But all of the links will be down below in the description.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
Check out my YouTube channels. The Darknet channel is the one I post on the most, and like I cover everything fraud. I cover all the scams. I talk about the dark web. I talk about operational security. I talk about all of the fun stuff on that side.